What's up guys, welcome back. We're gonna be installing the Bay Area Metal Fabrication rear leaf hangers to replace the stock ones. The stock ones can be bent pretty easy if they hit a rock or something like that. And these are obviously a lot more beefy and you don't have to worry about that. This is what you can expect to come with the kit. Obviously both the hangers, all the hardware. This is the optional DIY crossbar, the plates. I still got to get a tube to weld in between these, so I'm not going to be installing these today, but they just bolt on, so I can do that at a later date. And we'll kind of get right into it. Okay, just to show you what we got vehicle lifted up. If you're doing this on the ground, you can get it on jack stands. Do not support it by the rear axle because that's going to be able to have to move a little bit. Supported by the frame, get your rear wheels off. I have a trans jack to support the axle because we're going to have to disconnect the leaf springs. You can use a regular floor jack if you're closer to the ground, and then after that we can get right to getting these old shackles off, or leaf spring hangers off. Alright, now that we've got our rear axle supported, we're going to go ahead and remove this bottom bolt here. It's 19mm on both sides. We've got a nut and a washer that's going to come off there. To help get this one out, put this on reverse. Push on that back side and then the bolt will start to come out. And so now when it comes to removing the hanger, what you want to do is basically cut the meat of it off out of the way so you can get access to these rivets a little easier. I'm going to be using a plasma cutter, which will make it real easy. But if you don't have a plasma cutter, you could use a grinder, obviously with a bigger disc than that. That one's a little worn out. And you could go ahead and cut this from this side all the way across to get this out of the way, and it'll be a lot easier to work with your rivets. Alright, so after you get your leaf hanger cut off, these should be out of the way enough for you to be able to work. You're going to use your regular cut-off disc, and what I'm going to do is cut a line all the way down into the bracket here on all of these, and that'll be our first step. So we took our cut-off wheel, and you can see we cut directly across all of these rivets here, and I'm going to be using an air hammer next to try to knock the heads off. If you don't have access to an air hammer, your other option would be to take a grinding wheel and grind it completely flat, or you could take the cutoff wheel you just used and try to cut it horizontally, or use a hammer and chisel. If you're using a hammer and chisel, maybe cut an X so it'll come off in quarters and make it a little bit easier for you. So on the air hammer, using a chisel about like this. You can use obviously a regular chisel and a hammer if you don't have an air hammer. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go at them at this angle right here to try to kind of peel them up. If you're doing this by hand, you're probably not gonna want to do this method, but with the air hammer, it'd be suitable. And then we're just gonna repeat that process for the other three. So there's a little bit left from where we hammered off the rivets. We're just gonna take a grinding disc and clean those up to where it's flush. You can see this one's kind of already popping out. Same with that one, and that one's pretty close. This is mainly just only one. Clean that out, and then we can get this plate off the frame. Okay, now we're gonna try to wedge our chisel or our air hammer in here now that all of our rivets aren't overhanging, and it should kind of peel this right off, hopefully. we go. Now we're just left with the rest of our metal rivets. We're gonna take our grinding wheel. We're gonna go ahead and flatten these to the frame. That way they can't mushroom out as we're trying to push them out with our air hammer or hammer and chisel as you might be using. Or you could also drill them out. It's totally up to you. So next I'll go ahead and grind those flat. Alright, now we've got these all ground flat. I took a hammer and chisel to kind of center punch where the rivets are because it's kind of hard to distinguish. You look real close to the light, you'll be able to see. And now I'm going to take my air hammer, or you could take a punch, and we're going to knock these out the back. Now that we got those punched out, we'll move on to these bottom ones. So when we did the other side, we learned that if you try to air hammer these, all it's gonna do, it'll come out of this part of the frame, but it's gonna start to bend these upward. So you need something to support the top. So actually, we have a ball joint tool that we took the bottom out, and this is just a stud, or you could leave the bottom there and put a bolt that's small enough to fit there. And then this has a hole in it to allow the rivet to go through. That's gonna line up there. Now that we got this all set in place, you could take a ratchet, or we have an air gun, so we're gonna use an air gun, and go ahead and start to easily tighten this up. Push the rivet right out nice and easy. Didn't bend this, and works real good. All right, we took our grinder with a flat disc and cleaned off all the surface rust and everything, and put 2 coats of paint on it. You can see actually on this side, on one of my previous videos, I used a internal frame coating. I kind of sprayed some where to wedge in between where the hanger is going to be, because it's supposed to help neutralize rust as well. So that'll be kind of some extra protection. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. It's an ugly green color, but it'll be covered up by the hanger. Okay, one other thing I just learned trying to put the hanger on there, you have to drill all these holes out with a 1/2 inch drill bit to be able to get the bolt to actually fit through the hole. So take a drill bit, drill all your 4 holes out to a 1/2 inch. Okay, we got all these hollowed out to a 1/2 inch. I kind of took the drill bit and hollowed them out a little bit more. Now we're gonna get this up there. I recommend starting this bolt that's hard to get to first. All right, now once all those are in, you torque them to, I believe it's 85 foot-pounds. Got these torqued. Now, line your hole up. It'll help you have something like this. It's kind of just cone shaped. Helps you get the bolt started. A little bit of hammer. And then from the back side, you can see the bolt sticks through there. It's a little tricky, but get your washer and your nut. All right, that's the Bamf rear leaf hangers all installed. Everything torqued. Once again, 85 foot-pounds on those, 89 foot-pounds for your leaf springs. Make sure when you're putting in this top bolt, that you put it in before you put the shackle in here, because the threads have to be outward, otherwise they're gonna hit the hanger on the inside there. All right guys, thanks for watching. The other week, actually last week, we did a front end conversion on the truck. Went to a 12 to 15 front end with also a Bay Area Metal Fabrications bumper. And I have a video on that conversion. So if you're ever thinking about converting your front end to the 12 to 15 front end, go ahead and check that video out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, share the video, and we'll see you next time.